Welcome to Let's Talk Petty. We are not petty, but we love talking about it.
Yes, we do. I'm Kate's ex-boyfriend, Andrew.
I'm your wife, Kate. Nice try.
Nice try indeed.
Not gonna work. So our short story this week is about a landlord.
Hate landlords.
You remember our apartment days?
Good old Fat Don.
He was something.
He liked eating Jim Dandies.
He did like his food. And I loved how ridiculous he was because he gave us some good stories.
Very first apartment we ever lived in, you wanted a cat. And he told us, no, I don't allow pets, in his high squeaky voice.
No, but that was not true. Because remember, when we got the apartment, before we signed the lease, we asked him about maybe possibly getting a cat. Just a cat. And he said he was always open to it, to talk about it. We would just have to ask beforehand.
This apartment was above his laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
And his reasoning for not wanting us to have a cat, which I can't even say without beginning to laugh, is because he was afraid that the water dish was going to spill down into the laundromat and basically ruin everything in his laundromat.
His words were, what if the water dish tips over and floods the laundromat?
Now, I don't know what size water dish his cat has at his house, but I don't know that they've ever made a pool-sized water dish for a cat that you can fit in an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, not much bigger than a studio apartment, mind you, that would tip over and flood an entire laundromat/dry cleaner.
That was the best.
That joke and that whole experience will live on in infamy forever and will never be forgotten. And now it is broadcast forever, so anyone can listen to it. And Fat Don, if you're listening to it, you are funny.
He was something. And then the follow-up was when we wanted to get another apartment, because again, we wanted to get some cats.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh, you guys are in luck. I have another apartment. It's across town. It's not very far. It's bigger than this one. It's on the bottom level. It has a basement. Go check it out. I'll let you have pets there. So we are so young and dumb. God, we were young and dumb.
We
went over, la, 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 this is great. We're going to get some cats. And then right after we signed the lease, what does he do? You can't have any cats. He decided he didn't want any pets in there. So we got two cats anyway.
And he was trying so hard for months to peek in that apartment because he thought we had cats.
And we would keep them in the basement. And then he figured it out. And remember, he went in through the basement entrance illegally. Then he tried to hold it over our heads. And we went, isn't that breaking and entering? Because we were young and dumb, but we weren't that young and dumb.
We were that young, but just not that dumb.
And he realized it then, and he had to back off. He was forced to back off. And then we were like, oh, those cats you saw, they were our friends. We were just cat sitting.
I do remember he'd always walk by outside, and he'd be like trying to look in the curtains and see what he could see in there because he knew we had cats, but just couldn't prove it. And so we'd always make sure the shade on the door was pulled all the way down.
Terrible. The worst landlord we ever had.
Not to mention he's the worst dry cleaner ever.
Yes. Because a friend of mine at the time, I was working at Kinney Drugs up there, and she took a shirt to him to see if he could get the stain out of it. And when she brought it back, he had a pen in his hand, and he brought the shirt out and said, yeah, I can't get the stain out. It's too bad. This one right here, and circled it with the pen. Really ruining the shirt. She made him pay for it.
So if you have a bad landlord experience story like that or a bad dry cleaner story, we're going to start a new podcast called Landlord/Dry Cleaner Stories.
The kicker, what made us finally, we tried to break the lease, but then we ended up having to stay for the whole time, was when I had gotten into that car accident where that guy hit me. So the car wasn't there because it had been towed to get fixed. But I was in bed because I was so sore from the accident. And heard somebody at the front door, and I caught him red-handed coming into our apartment because he thought we were not home because my car was not there. The look on his face was priceless.
We were so young and stupid. We could have gotten so much from that.
So much. Worst landlord ever. So when I read this story, I was like, darn it. I wish that we had something like this and we could have done this too, Don, because it would have been great. So this is basically a situation where this gentleman had, well, he'll explain it and then we could talk about it. So this landlord, he wants him to show his apartment while he's still in it. Technically, you have to, sometimes you don't have to, whatever, but
it's not uncommon.
Yeah. So he's trying to not say or not let this happen. So it goes into where the landlord, he's threatened him legal action if he didn't comply. So now
the landlord
threatened
the tenant.
This tenant if he didn't comply. So he doesn't want to deal with it. So
Maybe
what
he needs
does
to move to a new venue.
Well, there's a reason he hasn't, and he'll say it, and then we can talk about it.
Because there's cameras.
There's camera. The camera. So now what this guy does is every potential renter gets the grand tour of every single thing the landlord has failed to fix, as well as how egregiously long it's been since I requested repair, which is the best. And then on top of all this, he explains to them a detailed explanation of how the management company stole my $10,000 overpayment and how I've been living rent-free, quote unquote, for months because they refused to give it back.
So he accidentally paid $10,000 more and they wouldn't give it back?
Correct. And it talks about a little bit further, so we'll talk about it. So he says they keep sending people, or they can keep sending people if they want, LMAO. Everyone has been like, OMG, thank you. And he said, thanks for the support, everyone. I've gotten zero work done, so I think I need to stop responding. But I'm appreciative of the collective FU to slimy landlords. So then he edits for clarification. And he says, I'm trying to leave out identifying details because I don't think he wants people to know exactly.
I'm a male. I live in the United States. I live in an apartment.
It's not in the United States. So it says,
I'm a male. I live in the world. I live in an apartment. But I don't want any more details than that.
Any more detail than that. He said, I paid a lump sum, not realizing that I was overpaying. The credit was more than the rest of the lease term. They refused to refund me. So I've just stayed past the lease, not paying. They don't fix things, and there's 0% chance that the apartment will be ready to rent one day after the end of the month, which is why my unofficial month-to-month lease ends. So they are just being greedy. Nobody is going, and it must be different. It's like nobody is looking for a 6-1 rental this early. It's all 5-1. I'm thinking 6 months? I don't know what that means.
6 rooms?
I don't know. It must be something wherever he is. And then it says, like I said, that's physically impossible. Also, it's a pandemic. I don't want strangers in my home for no actual reason. So that's why.
So there's a good reason right there.
Yeah. He doesn't want them in the apartment because he's in there and you're not supposed to be doing stuff. And then somebody was like, how do you accidentally overpay your rent by $10,000?
I would like to know that.
So it basically is, this other person was explaining, like, you can make weekly payments instead of monthly payments. And just something happened that wasn't.
Just add an extra zero or something.
Something.
2 extra zeros.
Like he said, he paid in lump payments. And then he didn't realize that he was paying too much when he was doing his lump payments. And as somebody who has more than once paid my car payment twice because I thought I missed it and went on and panic paid it, but I had already paid it. And then there's another credit card that I've done that for like 4 times now where I went on and panic paid and was like, oh, whoopsie, I already paid it. It's easy to do. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was funny. It's just a funny way to get back at just how terrible landlords can be and management companies.
I'm glad I let you finish the story because I was going to interrupt and say, well, why? it's funny and petty that he was sharing all the things that were wrong with the apartment and how they don't fix things. But I assume this guy would want to leave this apartment. So why would you sit there and discourage people from wanting to get the apartment so that you are stuck staying there? Not that he'd be stuck staying there, but you'd think they'd want to get him there so he could just get out as fast as possible.
But since he overpaid, he's basically like, okay, you're not giving me my money back. Well, I'm going to keep living here because I basically paid for it.
He must be young and stupid.
Well, I agree. I would try. If they weren't going to give me my money back, I would continue to stay there and doing the same thing. And then I would be like, if you want me to move out, give me my money back.
Well, we also had the other apartment that we rented where she tried to have all these things say that we did wrong. But the funny thing is we had taken all these pictures when we'd moved in of all the things that were wrong.
Yes.
So we already had proof. But then the topper on that is she tried to say that we damaged the refrigerator and she had to replace it. It was the refrigerator, right?
She said a lot of things.
But the
bathroom, the refrigerator.
I think she went and bought a refrigerator and replaced the one in our apartment and then tried to say that it was coming out of our security deposit.
Yes. But
the problem was she got a fake receipt made for the refrigerator more than what she had paid for it.
Yes.
And then when we went to court it was an arbitrator.
We went to small claims court because I took her to small claims court.
And we got
like, you're going to fail.
It went to arbitration and they totally did not side with her.
I mean, the gentleman who was doing the arbitration, the look on his face the whole time was amazing because
Again, we're just a couple dumb young kids that were at least smart enough to take pictures of when we moved in and were able to prove very easily this fake receipt that she had made from a home improvement store or wherever it was.
Not only that, but remember how disgusting the bathroom was? Mm-hmm. And I fixed the mirror. I painted it. I redid sections of the floor because the tile was missing. And I did like all this. I made it really pretty around the mirror and fixed it up. And so we had all of that proof because I had before and after pictures of all of that. That was good times.
We should start renting again so we have more stories.
We did somehow get ridiculous landlords because that place was also... We were young and we wanted to live in downtown Syracuse. Mm-hmm. And it was the only place that we could afford. And that's why we chose to live there because for once in our life, we're like, let's do this before we have kids. Let's go. And so we were willing to take this, but at the same time, we weren't dumb enough to be like, we better take pictures because this landlord is definitely cheap and slimy. Good
slimy
times.
Is a good description of her.
It really was.
Was she the one that would knock on our door like the first of the month for the rent?
Yep.
That morning. She'd be there that morning.
She would be there bright and early that morning. One day, I yelled at her because it was 6 a.m. and she was there to collect rent.
I couldn't remember if it was her, but I also remember
Don would do the same thing.
Don doing the same thing.
Don would also be there on the first of the month, and we always would make him wait.
How do we not remember her name?
I don't know. Blocked it out, I guess. I mean, we took her to small claims court.
Yeah,
you think
and we don't know her
name.
I think we just made fun of him so much, and I guess we saw him probably more.
We did. And we rented from him longer.
Yeah.
Somehow, for 2 years. Why? So stupid.
Kids.
Oh, good times. Anyway,
that's our story for this week.
That was my story. I would love to hear.
Took us down memory lane.
It did, but I would love to hear other people's stories about landlords, and like even if you didn't deal with them, just like stuff you had to deal with.
Did you ever do anything petty to a landlord like we did?
That would be great.
Which just debunked our whole "we're not petty."
How are we petty?
Well,
making them wait.
I guess just making fun of him. We're not really petty.
Yeah, we just made fun of him. We didn't make them. We made them wait till the end of the day. If they knocked early on the door for rent, we would be like, we have it, but we're not. Because this is when you had to pay with the checks, which is also insane. It's like, seems like another world. We'd call him on the landline to tell him that his check was ready. So weird.
We didn't just go downstairs and tell him. We had to call him.
Well, who wants to talk to him? Remember, we would slide it under the door. We didn't even want to answer the door. Put it in an envelope, slide it underneath because he would come up again and ask for it. Here you go. Whoop.
Good times.
Anyway,
That's
all right,
our
that's our
episode.
story. That's our episode. Go to our website. Tell the whole world about us.
What's our website?
I don't know. That's what you say.
Letstalkpetty.com. What's our
Yeah.
podcast called? Fool.
Talk petty. Let's.
Petty, let's talk.
Now I'm confused. Anyway, we'll see you next week.
Bye.